Well, today is only the fifth time in the past half-century that Catholics have a new pope.
The selection by cardinals at the Sistine Chapel is the first pope from the U.S. We welcome back Father Bill to talk more about the successor to Pope Francis. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
So, as we were saying before, we're all still learning about him, but what do you think his papacy could look like? Do you think it could look similar to that of Pope Francis?
I really find in my experience that every pope kind of has his own style. And I remember when I was studying church history as a seminarian, they all kind of looked the same, they all kind of seemed the same. But we've had such a variety. We had, in my lifetime, a Polish pope, a German pope, an Argentinian pope, and now an American. So in the majority of my life, they started out all Italian when I was a kid, but now the menu is a lot more varied in what we have. So it's always exciting because you don't quite know what his personal style is going to be like. I remember when Francis was first announced, within a couple weeks they said he would call people on the cell phone. And he's the first pope who ever called people on a cell phone. So you never know what the signature is going to be or the personal style. But apparently from the footage we've seen from Vatican City, the crowd there is quite elated and overjoyed. Yeah, they're happy with the fact that we have a new Holy Father. It's been 10 days since Francis passed away, so it felt like a long time to not have anyone sitting on the chair of Peter in Rome. And now that someone has been named, as a Catholic, I kind of settle in like, okay, we got a pope again. Let's see what the Lord has in store for us. I'm always excited about the possibilities with a new Holy Father.
And let's talk about the lineage here. So Robert Prevost was named a cardinal by Pope Francis and then now becomes Pope himself. Can you talk about that type of, I guess you could say, promotion, right? And how typical is that?
I don't know these days if there's anything typical about the election of popes because we've been surprised several times in a row. But obviously they recognize he has administrative abilities because he's the head of the dicastery for the bishops. So he had a voice in the last few years in the choice of bishops around the world. So he was a co-worker within the inner circle of the Vatican, so he was known probably, it's kind of like the testing ground, I would imagine, where they say, does this guy know what he's doing? And then it kind of stands out to other people here, who's really good? That one over there. And I'd like to think that they had so many good choices that they had a hard time choosing, but it only took a couple of votes, so.
Of course, now he will go by Pope Leo XIV. We don't know why he specifically chose that name, but maybe in a broader sense, can you speak on the significance of choosing a papal name? What does that represent?
I think sometimes it's just an indication of what he's inspired by. I was actually in this studio 12 years ago when Pope Francis was announced, and the weather person, who is now retired, said, and during the commercial, oh, he's a Jesuit, so it's probably, he took Francis after Francis Xavier, because Francis Xavier was a great missionary, and he was in the Society of Jesus. And I remember saying, no, I think it's Francis of Assisi. I think that there had never been a pope named Francis. And so the Leo the 13th, when I was in seminary, we celebrated the 100th anniversary of one of his encyclicals, Rerum Novarum, on the dignity of work. So the importance of social justice work and making sure that people who labor get proper pay. Now, I'm not talking about the church here. I'm talking about people who work out in the world. For our employees who are watching, thanks for what you do. Your bonus will be in heaven. But I think you kind of get the sense from the name. And, there have been 13 Leos before. So there's a sense of tradition there of being another one. We took a little poll among my staff members. We were sitting at a staff meeting, and I wrote down the names of everyone who they thought. And the first person said John, and that would be John the 24th. There's been a lot of Johns. There's never been a Patrick. There's never been a pope named Joseph.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I thought if the Irish, black sheep came up or whatever from behind, like the Kentucky Derby, if the horse from behind comes around, I thought, oh, St. Patrick or Pope Patrick would be cool. But I think Pope Leo XIV is exactly what we need because God provided.
What do you hope that the new pope now does on some of the tough issues that the church is facing. Clergy sex abuse is one of those, but locally here we are seeing churches on the path of closure. What do you hope he does on those issues? Well,
around the world, churches have been consolidating. You know, I go on retreat to Ireland almost every summer, and they're doing what we're doing here. They're closing some parishes and making them into families of parishes. So it's not just Buffalo, and many places around the world. I think that the obvious issues that are controversial and painful will have to be at the top of his priority of how to respond to it. And, you know, like we're doing here in Buffalo, we're trying to do everything we can to make sure it does not happen again. What can we do to prevent it? With the grace of God, you know, and how can we respond mercifully and kindly to help to heal the people who've been victims of that? I think Francis was a very gentle presence in that. I think our Bishop Mike is a very compassionate person. I recently heard of a story of a victim who went and met with them, and they said he surprised them how kind he was and how he listened. So a good shepherd, whether it's locally or for the whole world, a good shepherd listens to the sheep and listens to their heart to see where it hurts, but also listens to their joy to encourage them. You know, I think a younger pope, he's a little bit younger than the ones we've had, could be a good thing for vocations. You know, for those who are being called by the Lord. It's not our idea. It's not even your mother's idea that you be a priest. It's God's idea. But for people to stop and listen to that in our times, you know, those numbers are down. That doesn't mean the Lord isn't calling. It means people aren't ready to say yes. I was a delayed vocation myself, so
all right.
I don't criticize those who wait.
Father Bill, thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your insight with us. Thank you.
God bless you.